Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. I watched a video that a lady named, I hope this is right, Valida made. It's called a box card, and it's supposed to be easy to make, and it looked easy to make. It's not typical of what I've seen other box cards to be, so I thought we'd give it a shot, and in the end you fill it with little treats, so I thought it might be something that I could send to some of my girlfriends for Easter. And I chose a paper to line it with that has these little coffee cups on it, and I thought maybe I would send some little packets of tea in there. Just thought, maybe, you never know. My paper is a regular piece of 8.5 by 11 inch paper. That's your standard size piece of paper, and I'm going to score it at 2.5 on the 11 inch side. So that means when I say on the 11 inch side, it means you put it in your paper trimmer so that the paper lines up with 11 inches. Follow that? I hope you did. You're going to score it on 2.5 inches, on 4 inches, on 7 inches. Whoops, little jump off there. These things happen with me every once in a while. Hold on, my paper's moving. I'm not sure what's going on. I must have something in my paper. Excuse the noise. And 8.5 inches. Jeez, this thing is just not wanting to play with me today. Not sure what the deal is, but normally I don't have trouble with it staying in the grooves, but today, of course, it didn't want to. Then you're going to turn it to the short side, which means you should have an 8.5 inch piece of paper at the top. See where it ends? And you're going to score at 1.5 inches and at 7 inches. Jeez, I don't know what the deal is with this thing today. Did not want to play with me. You know it's bad when I'm singing. So those are our scores for now. Then you're going to want to fold on the 1.5 inch side and the 1.5 inch that we did on this end, and the 7 inch on the other side, which is 1/2 inches from that edge. You're going to fold both of those in so that you have nice clean folds on both of those. I'm going to use my bone folder in a minute, but right now I'm not. The next thing you're going to do is going back to your long side of your paper. I should have done this before I folded those, but you know I never do anything the way I'm supposed to. You're going to want to take a white pencil or something that you can see that's not going to show up. And on the 5.5 inch mark, you're going to want to draw a line. And I'm going to draw my line bigger than you would draw yours, just because you guys need to see my line. You're going to turn the paper all the way around, and again on the 5.5 inch, you're going to draw a line. You only want to be able to see a little mark, not like I'm doing it, because, you know, obviously I just want to make sure you can see it. This is a piece of squishy paper underneath, or squishy, it's foamy, it's a placemat. You can use a placemat, you could use fun foam, but you want to have something that's going to be underneath that will make this squishy. And all I care about is my ruler. This is a triangle, and I don't care that it's a triangle. I only want the ruler part, which is the straight edge. You're going to go from this intersection of the second score. Let me get another pencil, and I'm just going to draw my lines in. That way you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Here is, I'm going to just show you on one, so that you get what I'm talking about. Okay. Here is, from the outer edge, 1 score mark, 2 score mark. Your objective here is to do a score mark that goes from here to the top of that white line that's in the middle, and then again, 1 score mark, 2 score marks, you're going to draw, or not draw, you're going to create another score mark like that. We're only going to do those 2. The rest I just drew in there so you could see them. So I hope everybody saw what I was telling you to look for, and that is those 2 marks. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can really see this. All right, here's our score marks that we already have in place, and here's our line. So you're going to line your ruler up with this edge, and you're going to run your scoring tool from one end to the top edge of that, so that you have a good score line right there. Then you're going to do the same thing on this side. From this point, which is the bottom of that second score, to the top. And I'm just using my scoring tool and running it up and down that. You just want to make sure that you have a good score line, and if I flip it over, you should be able to see those. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side, although on this time I am not going to be drawing anything. I'm just going to go from my middle line, which is this white one, to that corner edge right there and score. Turn my paper around a little bit. Hopefully I'm in camera. And you're going to go from this score mark right here up to our point again. And that way we have a nice V. I hope everybody has that. The next thing we're going to do is make some cuts. So I'm going to use my Fiskars Easy Action scissors. You squeeze them and then they pop back themselves, so you only have to do half the work. I love these scissors. I like the smaller ones this size much better, but for a long cut like I'm going to be making, you want to make sure that you use a longer blade if you can on your scissors. We're going to cut. Remember this line I drew that went all the way to the second fold? That's what we're going to do. We're going to cut right on our score line to the second score. We're going to do that on all 4 sides. So we did that one. We're going to turn it around. We're going to go on this one again all the way to the second score. Same with this side. Got a little extra piece of paper there that's coming awry. Okay, last one. We're going to cut this one. So that's all 4 edges. So you've got these floppy things. You're going to now cut off the very first box on each of those corners. So here's the score and there's the second score where we cut. You're going to cut this one off. And in this case I'm going to go to my littler scissors because I don't have to have the long blades for this one. And we're just going to cut on that. You only cut one. Remember, you cut to 2 of these, but you're only going to cut one of them off. My paper is fighting me a little. What else is new? And turn it around. You can use these pieces for a sentiment if you want. Because when we're done with this, we will have a box, so you could put a sentiment across the top. It's funny, when I said sentiment just there, it sounded like cinnamon to me. I'm probably losing my mind. Alright, let's do some bone foldering. So you're going to take your bone folder, and you're going to fold the folds that are closest to the center, you're going to fold those in. And then you're going to do a nice job of folding them down. Then you want to push your flap straight down, like that. Push it back out. The other side, you're going to first fold, you're going to fold in. Then the other one, you're going to fold back. So it looks like when you're done with this part of it, it should look like a gatefold card. Okay? Then the pieces that are on the outside, we're going to fold this flap in and this flap in, and do a nice job of using your bone folder on those. What do you suppose that term is? Bone foldering? Bone? I don't know. I don't know. You know, like when you're using your bone folder? I don't know. There's got to be a term for making it, using it. I don't know. Okay, then you're going to your V, you're going to fold those flaps back, and you're going to make sure that they are well folded down. So this is the inside of my card where I drew that line, and now you can see that I've got a V. You should be able to see the V, right? I'm going to turn it over, and again, you're going to fold your flaps in and make sure they're, well, bone foldered. I don't know what we're calling it. And then you're going to fold these back so that you have a triangle. And again, you do that. Okay. Open it back up. We're going to put tape. I'm using tear tape so that I can really hold my card together. I'm going to put tear tape only, I'm going to turn it this way, only on this edge of each one of my 4 boxes. So you have that one, and this one. I know everybody else uses a better system than I do for this, but I'm just going to use the scissors on it. I'm going to turn it completely around because it's easier for me to do this from the left side. And I'm going to put a little bit of tear tape like that. And last but not least, we're putting a little piece right here on our last section. Now, before I go any further with this, I want to erase all of my marks that I've made, because unlike what you're going to be doing, you're not going to be drawing all these lines. You could if you wanted to, but I needed to draw them for you. So you just do whatever you want to do to make sure that you can figure out this process. Our next plan is we're going to create our box. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to fold these flaps that we just did. We're going to take the backing off of our tear tape. You could use wet glue if you didn't have tear tape. You could use any kind of tape that you want to, and you're going to fold your box up like that. Then you're going to do the same with this piece. Take the backing off, because I just forgot to. I was thinking to myself, geez, that's weird. It's not going to stick. Why is it going to stick? And if you struggle with getting these pieces, these outer pieces off your tear tape, what you need to do is press down on your ends better, because that's where the secret is in making sure that those work well. Is if you just push really hard on the edge, I mean, obviously, if I used my pokey tool, I could get it off. Folding it up so that it's even with the side of the box, like that. And then, last but not least, again, make sure your top edge is really well adhered, and then you can just pull it off and close it up. You want to make sure now, okay, here is our box. If everything is the way it's supposed to be, and that's why we had to do those scores. Now, if it doesn't want to fold down really well at first, what we need to do is really push it down and then score again, just to make sure that everything is going to stay where you put it. So there is our box and then our card. I'm going to do the same thing in the middle. I'm going to just go across the middle and try and squirt everything down, bone folder it down. I'm not sure what that's called. I'm just going to keep saying it till I come up with something that makes sense. So here's our card. We're going to open it like this, okay? So that you won't be able to put much inside. I was going to put some decorated paper clips in there, but I don't know. Right now I haven't really decided. So let's measure our folds so we know how big our paper needs to be that we're going to be putting inside or decorating. You're going to figure out length and width on just the flap. So my flap is 2.5 inches by 5.5. 2.5 by 5.5. So when you have one that's 2.5, if you have a 2.5 inch by 5.5 inch, what you're going to want to do is you're going to decide how big do I want a border. If you only want a little bit of a border, that would be like 1/8 of an inch border, then you would take 1/8 of an inch off of each of these measurements. So our measurement was 2.5 by 5.5. If you wanted to convert these over so that you could take 1/8 off, 2.5 equals 2 4/8, and 5.5 equals 5 4/8. If you're going to subtract off 1/8, then you would subtract it and you would end up with 2 3/8 by 5 3/8. And the measurements are on your paper or on your paper trimmer. I'll show you those as well. And you want to make sure, in my case, I want my paper to be 2 3/8 inch this way because I'm going to be making my paper so that it's short or thin and long. So you have to make sure that you figure that out first before you do any paper cutting. I guess that's supposed to have that mark on it. So I'm going to put this in. I'm going to slide it over to 2 3/8. Now when you look at the marks on your paper trimmer, here's how it works. Every teeny tiny line is a 1/16. So when you count these, you'd say this bigger line is an 1/8. So 1, 2, 3/8. So 2 3/8 takes you to right there. Because if you added 1/8 more, that's your 1/2 inch that we talked about at the beginning. So we're going to trim our paper at the 2 3/8 mark, and I'm going to take that whole piece of paper off because I only need 5 3/8. So I'm going to move this. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Here is your 5-inch mark, and this is 5.5 because that's a mark I use all the time. So if you're looking for 5 3/8, you go 5 and 1, 2, 3/8. Right there is the 3/8 mark. So we're going to put our paper in and line it up on 3/8, and then we're going to slide our paper down to 5 3/8 again, and we're going to cut it. So those are our 2 strips that we need to go on our outside of our card. Now I thought what I would do, the reason I only did that little teeny tiny border is because I thought I would use a punch to hopefully make it look really cute on the outside edge. So what I'm going to do is this is for this side, so on this side you have to punch over here. On this side, when I put my paper down, I'm going to have to punch on that side. So we're going to punch this one, and you see how when our paper is lined up like this, you can see that the cups are lined up. Isn't that cute in the middle? Okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to do it from the top instead. Okay, the reason I'm doing it this way is if my half circles end up down here being partial, like part way, and then it cuts off, I think it would look worse if it was up here. So I'm going to punch this part first. Then I have a little edge. See, I have this little piece. I'm going to have to just snip that off. So I might as well just do it while I'm thinking about it. You see this border in here, how they show you this edge? You want your paper to go in and line up exactly with that. You have to make sure that your back edge is flush with the bar, and you have to make sure that that edge is right. And then you punch, and then that makes sure that that's edge is right. Then you're going to put the paper in again. We're lining it up one more time. This time you're going to have to kind of hold it in place because you don't go the whole way across. Oh, I almost had a big catastrophe there. Okay, here's what I was talking about. You see how this doesn't go all the way down? I think it would have looked worse if it had been up here. So now my paper is going to be like this. And I can, if I wanted to, I could cut my outside paper the same way. And I might end up doing that. I haven't decided. I might, cut again. So we're going to do in this side. Remember, when we do this piece, we have to cut over here on the left side of the paper to do the left side. So we have to make sure that we do it from the top and flipping over. I got paper stuck in there. Come out. Okay. So we're going to put it in there so that it lines up like that. Then put it back inside, and this time I'm going to line it up from this side. Again, we want to make sure that our paper is flush over here and flush over here. And then do it again, making sure my paper is in there properly. And there's that. Now we have all kinds of little paper debris to get rid of. There's that. So here are my two edges, and I think what I'm going to do is trace them a little bit. I think I'm going to trace and figure out a way to cut this so that we end up with ovals on this side too, or semicircles. Okay, so now I have to either figure out if a trimmer will work, but I think I'll probably just end up cutting them with my scissors. Okay, I've already stamped a bunch of things in here, but I want to show you how I'm going to mask and stamp a couple of these because they're little. I decided instead of doing tea bags, I was going to go with the idea of the paper clips because I don't think that the paper clips will be as thick as those. And I found this really cute sentiment that is so much like my friend. It says, what did one bean say to the other bean? How you bean doing? She'll get a laugh out of that. It's just, it's her sense of humor. So what I'm doing now is I'm masking these off because what I want to do is I'm going to cut out these as I don't need to cut all of it. I just need to cut the part of this. You're going to want to cut inside the bordered edge, and I only have to do really on that side of this because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp very close to this like that, and I'm going to stamp a second one beside it, and that way this is Post-it note tape, in case you didn't know what it was, that's what it is. And I'm going to do the inside of this one as well, inside edge, because I want to make sure that I can lay my two peas on top, or almost on top of each other. And I'm going to leave a lot of excess on there because, like I said, I'm laying this so that when I put the pea down, the new pea, it's going to be like, I want it to be two peas in a pod basically. So I'm going to set them like that, and same with my carrot. I'm going to lay that carrot like that. Oops, I need to put them down a little bit. And then we'll just ink those back up. And then we'll have a plan. Taking these two off because I don't need them. Got ink everywhere, as usual. I'll just throw my onion right there. Darn it. See if that'll work. Then I'm going to cut these out. Well, I'm going to color them, and then I'm going to cut them out. I'm using archival ink, and it's Stampin' Up! Gray archival ink. I didn't want to have the bold black because our sentiment, well, our card in general is not really bold. I'm also keeping this piece of that Post-it note because I'm going to put this into a punch, and I want to make sure that when I put it in the punch that I don't have a problem with moving it around. The stamps I'm using came from Jilly Bean, Fresh Vegetable Soup is what that set is called. And let me come back after I've cut some of these, after I've cleaned this up. I bought these big paper clips at Dollar Tree, so you get 80 of them for $1, and I like them because they've got that rubber backing on them. And I wanted to tell you that this is from EK Success. I don't know the name of it, but I'm sure it says something like dotted scallop or something like that. I'm making that up just for you. I'm going to try and punch out this sentiment with it's a Stampin' Up! Punch. I don't know the name of it either. I'm really bad at this. So if anybody else from Stampin' Up! Knows the name of it, if you'd tell people, that would be terrific. Let me get it in here so you can see. I hope you can see that. And then you want to hold it as tightly as you can, hopefully, and punch it out. That is how I did it. And then that piece of paper that I had, that Post-it note paper, just does that job like a champ. It holds it, allows me to move it around because it wasn't a big piece of paper. And I don't have the question mark at the end, but I didn't have room for it, so I don't have a problem with that. Maybe you'd be worried about that, but I don't have any problem with that. Oh, and I'm going to put that on the outside of our card. And then on the inside, I wanted to show you this too. I don't know if you watched the video where I showed you how to make your Stamp Perfect work for you, but this is also a Misty tip. I took a grid sheet and I covered it with acetate, and I put this on the back so I wouldn't lose it. It's just washi tape. And what you do is you put it inside your Stamp Perfect or your Misty, and the pink paper is what I want to stamp on. You want to line it up with your edge so you're sure it's straight, and then my sentiment is already in there. The thing that's nice about it is you can tell there are 2 boxes on this side and 2 boxes on this side from my sentiment, so I know that it's centered on either side, and I'm pretty sure it's straight because the grids were right. Let me look at it and make sure. Yeah. So that's what I use the grid piece for, and I think that's very, very handy. this is the first time I've used this stamp, so it doesn't want to ink very badly. But that happens when you have a new stamp. If it doesn't want to stamp the second or third time, then what you do is you just take some an eraser and rub over it, or a very, very light touch with a nail file. Very light. I'm talking teeny, teeny light stroke on that. So that is that. And I do have to clean this immediately because this is, again, archival ink, which means it is a permanent ink and it won't come off after the fact. You're stuck with it if you didn't wipe it off. Now you're going to be living with it. If to round this up, to make sure that you like your edge, what I would do is lay your paper back on it like I've done, and then I cut this one already, the bottom one. You're going to trim a little bit more. I'm going to go in from the top edge. I'm going to trim pretty close to my scallops, not cutting my scallops though. And then I'm going to try and get again as close as I can to these, and I can continue to trim them. If I don't like it like this one, I don't like this bottom edge because I can see a score line. I just kind of trim off a teeny tiny bit, and then that way I like the look of the whole thing. And the same way with this bottom edge, when you put it in, you can see right here, you can see that, well, you probably can't see it, but this little edge of paper, the top paper, it's a little bit, it's going over the edge, so I want to get rid of that. And the same thing on the very bottom edge right there. So I think we're about ready to glue it together now. I already did the other side, so it's ready to go. So let's get our tear tape or our tape runner and put it all together. I want to make sure my coffee cups line up again like that. And I think it looks good, so I'm gonna put some tape runner. Come on, buddy. This was one of the tape runners that someone recommended. It's from Elmer's, and it is very, very sticky. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 10 on this sticky scale. It already beat me a couple times. So I'm just forewarning you that if you buy this, you're going to want to be careful with it because it's very sticky. So we're going to line it up with, I'm going to do it this way so I can see this edge, because this edge is the part that's important, to make sure we line everything up exactly the way we want it. And if it's too long on the left side, we can trim that off. I'm not worried about that at all. This one. I have a piece of ribbon that I'm going to use as a belly band to tie around the entire project when I'm done with everything. But right now, close. Again, we can always trim it. Don't fret if if you're a little worried. I can trim these edges like right here. I don't think it's trimmed enough into the center. Whoop. And then if you don't like your very top, like right there, I don't like that, I'm going to trim it off. Same with this side. I've got a little bit more pink than I like, and I'm going to get rid of that little edge. Like that. So that takes care of all of those pieces. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of blue, I think, around the edge of this with some, I'm not sure what color, but I'll pick one and I'll be back. So I'm going to use a Fantastic and some Soft Sky from Stampin' Up. That's the color. And a Fantastic is a little tool that's got like a felt pad in the end that's like an ink pad. And you can use it for things like this, where I'm just going to go around the edge of my little sentiment. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attach this only to one side, because remember, we have to make sure that we can get the other the whole box to open. So I'm just going to put, I think this stuff is sticky enough that it'll hold it in place. I'm only going to tear down or tape down, excuse me, half of it. Come off. Okay, let's line it up with that little middle mark. And if I don't think it'll stay on, I can always put another piece of tape or something on it that'll hold it in place. Then I'm going to put this on the back of my box, because I don't want it to just be plain pink. I think it needs a little bit of something too. Now, before I attach this to the back, the first thing I would do is make sure that my cups are going in the right direction, which is this way. Then the next thing I want to do is make sure that I have enough ribbon. So I put a piece of tear tape right across this lower section of my card box, and I'm just going to lay my ribbon on that. Then I'm going to check this again. My cups go that way, so I want to line up my cups again and make sure I don't screw up my cups. Okay, I'm going to squeeze it, push it down. That way my ribbon won't come off. And I can tie it shut like a belly band, but I'm not going to do that yet because I want to put things in my box. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put my Thanks a Bushel. I'm going to distress around the edges of that with that blue again. Same blue, Soft Sky, I think this is called, pretty sure. Then the next step is I could just put a notch in there to pull it out with, but what I thought I would do is instead I have this little punch that what I thought I would do is make this little punch, hopefully straight, and then I'm going to put my ribbon through there, just a little piece of ribbon that I'm going to, hopefully, I doubled the ribbon over, and I'm going to put it through the hole like that. And I probably don't have enough ribbon to do this, but we're going to try it anyway. Hold on, I'm going to go off camera. I always love those crafters that are really good at only using the amount of ribbon that they need. I never do that well, obviously. So here's how I'm going to keep my ribbon from coming loose. You see how it's loose right there? So I'm going to take the little piece of tear tape like that, and I'm going to put it underneath, down there on it, pull it again so it's tight, and then it's going to stay secure and for good because it's got tear tape back there. Easy, huh? So then we're going to put this piece, we're going to open up our box, and we're going to put this piece inside. I cut that piece about a quarter of an inch smaller and a half an inch shorter because I knew I'd have to have room for my ribbon at the top. So then it says Thanks a Bushel on the inside from the same stamp set as my vegetables came from. I'm going to cut out my vegetables after I color them. I've got my doubled up veggies right here. So here are the colors I'm going to be using. I'll have Rich put them in at the end, or he'll put them up above, but I'm going to be using some dark green and some light green, DG3, LG4. I have a Premier marker that is evergreen. I'm going to use that one, and so I'm going to try those first on my peas. Let me cut these out, and we'll be ready to put them on our pin. Alright, yeah. We'll be able to put them on our paper clips in just a minute. So I glued all of my vegetables down on this card. I thought that would be cute because Rich and I talked about it, and we decided that to put something inside this, it should look like the front, so it should look like the coffee cups. So I put the coffee cups, 3 of them, on the paper clips, and I covered the back with a paper that matches, and that took forever. I just thought I'd tell you that. I wouldn't do that again, honestly. And I knew I couldn't do that with the vegetables without a lot more work, because you'd have to stamp them backwards, etc. And I didn't want to do that. So I'm going to put my Thanks a Bushel inside, just like that. And then we'll put these 3, I'll just lay them in. Like I said, you can't put a lot in here, because if you do, you're going to end up with, you won't be able to close your card. So I'm just going to put the 3 little paper clips like that, and they shouldn't make it too thick. I did stamp the back of the pink paper with my, I made this for you, and I'm going to throw a couple extra cups inside in case she needs to have more, in case she wants to make more paper clips. So then all we're going to do is we're going to tie our card shut. Let's see if I take that off. It's not horrible. Bow is kind of cute. Okay, I'm going to trim my ribbon a little bit. All right. See how much easier that was? And still it's not tight enough. I think it's because of the, it's so hard to keep it closed because of the stuff inside. That just occurred to me. Alright, so let's get an envelope that we think will work. So there it is with its envelope. I think it came out kind of cute. I'm not 100% sold on it, but at least I finally got the bow to almost keep it closed. The problem is when you've got so much stuff inside, you really can't get anything to work. But I did make my own envelope, and you put the card in backwards like this. If you have a card that's got a lot of stuffing in it, you just slide it in like that, and it's ready to go. It's completely finished, and the envelope is from, I used the We Are Memory Keepers envelope board, and there you go. It's all ready to go. I hope you enjoyed this, and give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and please tell your friends about me on social media because I really appreciate that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.